Text 31, 36. Sa vacha vachakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriya Dati Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara Savacha Vakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara Savacha Vakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara Savacha Vachakataya Savacha Vachakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara Savacha Vakataya Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik Nama Rupa Kriyadate Sakarma Akarma Kapara
Savacha Vachakataya
Savacha Vakataya
Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik
Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik
Nama Rupa Kriyadate
Nama Rupa Kriyadate
Sakarma Karma Kapara
Sakarma Akarma Kapara
Savacha Vachakataya
Savacha Vakataya
Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik
Bhagavan Brahma Rupadrik
Nama Rupa Kriyadate
Nama Rupa Kriyadate
Sakarma Karma Kapara
Sakarma Akarma Kapara. Okay, so that's everyone. Everyone should. We'll do the word by word synonyms. Sa, he, vacha, by his forms and activities. Vakataya, by his transcendental qualities and entourage. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Brahma, absolute. Rupadrik, by accepting visible forms. Nama, name. Rupa, form. Kriya, pastimes. Date, accepts. Sakarma, engaged in work. Akarmaka, without being affected. Para, transcendence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Prabhupada. He, the personality of Godhead, manifests himself in a transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, quality, pastimes, entourage, and transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by all such activities, he appears to be so engaged. Whenever there is a need of material creation, the transcendental personality of Godhead accepts forms in the material world for creation, maintenance, and destruction. One should be intelligent enough to know his activities and truths, and not be biased to conclude that he descends to the material world by accepting a form created by material nature. Any form accepted from the material nature has its affection for everything done in the material world. A conditioned soul who accepts a material form for undergoing a certain term of material activities is subjected to the laws of matter. But here in this verse it is clearly stated that although the forms and activities of the Lord appear to be the same as those of a conditioned soul, they are supernatural and impossible for the conditioned soul. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always unaffected by such activities. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 14, the Lord says, Mam karmani lipanti name karma phaleshvaha. Iti mam yo vijananti karma bir nasabhatiti. The Lord is never affected by the activities which he apparently performs by his different incarnations and personalities. Nor does he have any desire to achieve success by further activities. The Lord is full by his different potencies of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. And thus he has no reason for physical exertion like the conditioned soul. Therefore, an intelligent person who can distinguish between the transcendental activities of the Lord and the activities of the conditioned soul is also not bound by the reaction of activities. The Lord, as Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, conducts the three modes of material nature. From Vishnu is born Brahma, and from Brahma is born Shiva. Sometimes Brahma is a separated part of Vishnu, and sometimes Brahma is Vishnu himself. Thus, Brahma creates the different species of life all over the universe, which means that the Lord creates the whole manifestation either by himself or through the agency of his authorized deputies. So yeah, these verses here in this purport is like totally loaded full of all the principles of Krishna consciousness. So as stated in the Brahma Samhita by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, if there's no eligible jiva to take the post of a Brahma, then the Lord himself, he takes the post of Brahma as Vishnu himself. Right? And so then I was looking up the Brahmastra, right? And basically they're saying that the Brahmastra, the nuclear weapon that we refer to it as, is comes from a point of the top of Brahma's four heads. But they're saying, but any weapon that Brahma would have or be able to delegate to his, Krishna's devotees, those who are eligible for the weapon, would be a Brahma Astra, right? Like Narayana Astra. Narayan, Vishnu has his own weapon, the Narayana Astra. Shiva has one, a Shiva Astra. There's in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a pastime how the Shiva Dvara and the Vishnu Dvara are fighting each other. And the Shiva Dvara went running back to Lord Shiva, for begging Vishnu for mercy. He says he was getting defeated by the Vishnu Dvara really badly. So, and then Krishna is full of all six opulences. That's why he's Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the most beautiful, the most wealthy, the most renounced, the most learned. Let's see, there's two more, we just read them. Full of knowledge, I mentioned enunciation, fame, and is very famous. So everybody knows God, he's all famous. He owns everyone's wealth. It's originally his, and all the planets and universes, right? Somebody can't be so puffed up to think that they're one of the wealthiest persons on this planet when there's millions of planets just within this universe, and there's millions of universes, and all the wealth originally belongs to God. So one's kicked out of his apartment, his physical body, right, according to karma, and all his wealth and all his possessions and everything will be taken away from him. So there's a difference between here. Krishna states that he doesn't change his body, that he can remember 40 millions of years ago when he struck the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, and that Arjuna was also present but in another capacity. But Arjuna is being of the Jiva category, although he's a great devotee, he's an eternal associate of Krishna, he doesn't remember his past lives and activities. So that's what Krishna is saying, that he remembers everything because he doesn't change his transcendental body. And then there's the Naradama, let's see, Naradama. So there's different classes of the atheists, the Mudha, those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, Hita Jnana. So fools deride me when I descend in the human form, not knowing my higher nature being transcendental and supreme. So just like what Prabhupada was saying here in the purports here, Krishna is not part of the material world being subjected to laws of karma or subjected to the laws of physical nature, that he's the Lord of physical nature. So that's the point that I wanted to get to, that I wanted to keep mentioning, is that what they were saying in the classes that I was listening on, these verses that we're reading in this chapter, is that the universe becomes alive from the when the Lord enters into it. It enters into matter. Then matter will appear to become alive. Maya becomes activated. But Maya, the external illusory energy, and Krishna is above Maya. He's not under the influence of Maya like the conditioned souls are. So then they're saying that's what mukti, liberation is well, Prabhupada was saying is engaging in devotional service. But when we're engaging in devotional service, mukti, liberation means that you're freed from the contamination of performing sinful activities, or adverse karmic reactive activities. So, did Maharaj wish to make a statement on these comments, or?
Yes, the Lord not only is the original owner of all opulences, but he's presently the owner also. And even though someone may claim that they have some beauty or they have some wealth, actually it's not theirs, it's his. And it all belongs to him. And all the fame is really his, because without him there is no existence. So no one can claim anything separate from him. And if they do, then it's Maya, illusion, as we hear in the 4 shlokas.
Jai Hare Krishna. So Krishna, as being on his transcendental platforms, being transcendental on the absolute plane, Maharaj was mentioning this, the Chinta Beta Beta Atatva yesterday in the class. Lord Chaitanya is a philosophy of simultaneously one within variegatedness and activities, right? Not just no activity, but transcendental spiritual activity in association with Krishna, serving Krishna by engaging in Krishna's pastimes, like that. So there's neutrality, and there's friendship, and parental affection, conjugal love. There's 5, right? Did I mention all 5? Neutrality, servitude. So neutrality. You know, the flowers and the plants. They're wishing that Krishna will pluck one of their flowers. Oh yeah, the gopis were talking about Krishna's flute. Oh, the mother and father of the bamboo flute must be very proud of their son being touched by the lips of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being or Krishna, like that. So they're thinking like this in this way. So there was the chapter where Krishna was entering into the Vrindavan forest, and the position of the trees and the flowers and everything were being compared to like the impersonalists, because they're not engaging in any activity like that. There's a description like that, right? And then Krishna entered into the forest and engaging in pastimes with the cowherd boys, and that they were imitating the animals and the frogs, and they were running when there was a forest fire, and then they were reclining underneath a tree, and then one of the chief cowherd boys stated that there's some really beautiful, tasty, delicious fruits in the Taliban forest, right? So let's go there. I think it was Taliban forest. So they're saying, let's go there. And Krishna, he was massaging Balaram's legs. They were reclining under the tree. There was a favorable breeze with nice fragrances. And so Krishna and Balaram agreed, let's go there right away. So they got there, they started tasting some of the delicious fruits, and then it was like an earthquake. It's a big giant Keshi demon. He was a big donkey, the ass demon. And so he started to try to kick Krishna or Balaram, but they just grabbed him by his hind legs and threw him on top of some trees and toppled down all the trees, and it was like another tumultuous earthquake, all these trees falling down. So then even all the rest of the ass demons, they started coming, and the ground was tumultuous sound, is shaking, and Krishna and Balaram, they killed all the demons, and so this is how they perform their activities every day. Kill demons after lunch, tend to cows and calves, and nice green grasses in Vrindavan forest, decorated with flowers and fruits and trees, and favorable breezes. So that's the whole activity, is the pastime. So on the absolute plane, Krishna is identical with his name and with his pastimes. They're saying even here with his entourage. They're saying Krishna is not Krishna alone. Krishna, when Krishna comes, he comes with his most intimate personal associates, like that. So he says, you never see the picture of Krishna alone. Krishna's with Radharani, Krishna's with a cow or a calf, or with peacocks, or the tree, right? So Krishna, he's never alone. He's always with his intimate associates. And so to become an intimate associate with Krishna is to remember and think about, meditate, and always constantly be absorbed in Krishna's activities and Krishna's name. Being on the transcendental platform. In the material world, they're saying if you try to chant Coca-Cola or if you chant water, you're not going to be satisfied. We have to keep changing our positions. We're into one genre music, and something else comes along, so we're changing our platform. Or we're interested in all of it. We just have a variety, right? So now we're interested in this genre, country. Then we want to listen to rock, and we want to listen to rap, and we want to listen to punk and some new wave, different 60s, 80s, right? So we have to keep changing the platform because we're not satisfied. They're saying, here's the devotees now. Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness movement's been here since 1965, so what are you saying, over 50 years? 50, maybe 60, almost 70 years. And devotees are still chanting Hare Krishna and being satisfied with that, like that. So that's on the absolute platform. On the absolute platform in the spiritual world, if you do chant water, it is the same as the actual substance of water, but in material world is the world of duality, where the water, the substance of water, and the name and sound of water are separated. They're not the same. So let's see, what else were they saying? made some really, really good comments. Okay, yeah, because then they were discussing what we're talking about here, how the Lord is entering into the material nature, and through his manifestation of agencies when the material universe needs to be created. Oh yeah, so that's another verse in Bhagavad Gita too, is whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious principles, Krishna will, he says, I descend to reestablish religious principles, appease the devotees, and annihilate the demons, millennium after millennium. I think I combined a couple of verses there, right? They're kind of like the same. Maharaj was mentioning that verse yesterday. Yuge, millennium after millennium, age after age. Yuge. So, yeah, Yuge, Dharma, to establish religious principles, Dharma, to reestablish Dharma. What is it? Panitraya Sanyam. Oh, Sambhavami Yuge, yeah. Jaya Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. So, yeah, there's some really good points I was listening to on just what we were discussing. So, basically, that's the way to become immortal, rather than being subjected to the laws of birth and death in the material world and its 8,400,000 species of life. And what we were just mentioning, that the human form of life is a rare opportunity. To obtain the human form of life is very rare. So somehow or other we have attained this human form of life. So the first Vedic aphorism is Ato Brahma Jnanasa. As Prabhupada is saying that the Vedas are not for the animals. So now that you have achieved this rare opportunity in the human form of life, now is the time to inquire into what is Brahman, right? So when we mention Brahman, we're not specifically only exclusively referring to the impersonal Supreme Brahman, but also Paramatma and Bhagavan. As Maharaj was mentioning that verse also yesterday too, right? Is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized in three aspects of understanding: is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So the devotees, they know Krishna as Bhagavan. Now, they're saying to elevate the impersonalist to the personal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and for the common man to become purified by thinking of the universal form, which is a material representation of the Supreme Lord, after which all of our senses of all the living entities are fashioned. So the Lord desired to see, so there was the organ of seeing, there was the sight, and the deity or the manifestation that gives rise to the ability to see, such as the sun and Vivishwan, and then the mind and Chandra. So they were also saying that I believe his name was Prahladinanda Swami. He was saying that he even knew some people. You know, generally they're people that are kind of unsteady to begin with, anyways. But I remember, my father was an alcoholic and he was in construction, and so there was other people too that we knew quite well that were accustomed to drinking. They're alcoholics and they were in construction, but everyone knew, their wives knew and their friends knew this, that when there was a full moon, that their moods and activities changed for the worse, right? And so he said he also noticed this too, but they were kind of unsteady to begin with already, anyways, or people under deep states of intoxication. But he said, but he even mentioned this, and I've heard this many times before, that on the full moon for the devotees, it's when Krishna and when Balaram, they perform their Rasa Leela with their gopis. So, the karmis, they see it as hellish. It changes their personality to Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. They're the wolf man. It's the night when he came home and broke up the house and put my dad put my stepmother in a hospital, broke her ribs. So the next morning was asking the kids, and the kids all had black eyes, and the whole place was all tore up. And he's going, "What happened to you guys, man? What happened around here? Where's your mom?" They're like, "Oh yeah, right, Dad. Okay, yeah." Well, you took her to the hospital. Yeah, that's when they get mad, when you start to telling them what happened, because they deny it, right? And they take it out on you. So this is the demons, right? You'll get beat up again if you tell them what really happened. Yeah, my mom, she was telling us to play with she just bought us a new little play table with these chairs. They're painted red, it kind of looked like a casino table, a play game table thing. And first, she told us to take the bath. So, baths, that's the big thing. And then your PJs, try to keep your feet from getting dirty. Don't go on the dirty floor. Right, and then she's telling us to play with the play table. She kept telling us to play with the tape player. But then all of a sudden, she picked up one of the chairs and broke it on the table. The table completely broke. She said, "Go to bed." Right? As if she was already telling us to go to bed or something. But this was the first time she told us to go to bed. And then the next morning, she wanted to know why we broke the table. I was trying to tell her that she broke the table, and I even got it again. They're in denial. Or you don't defy them, the demons. You don't defy the demons. All right. So that's the situation that the world's in today. They all got the nuclear bombs. It's the nuclear race. They now want to say, hey, you know what? If you go over there and do this occupation, then our nuclear peace treaty and all that stuff is null and void. So what's the use of having a treaty? You have a treaty, it would have to be renewed by such and such a year. And they're saying, well, I'll tell you what, if you just do something that, we don't really appreciate, then, hey, guess what? Our treaty is no good. So what's the purpose of treaties? The United Nations should jump in and state that. I mean, I thought these treaties were irrevocable. They're supposed to try to protect the world against madmen who happen to, get their hands on this stuff, or whatever the idea is, creating these really, really expensive, realistic AI robot android things, right? From what I understand, they're supposed to replace the human race. I'd like to see them, again, according to their computer logic and AI, after the demons achieve their agenda, to now try and punish those who are responsible for crimes against humanity. So this is like a lose-lose situation. What is it? It was a Twilight Zone and stuff. It's the twist of fate. The twist of fate, how a person, like, he wanted to be the ruler of a great European nation. So he finds out he's Adolf Hitler and it's the end of the war. So he got what he wanted and he got what he deserved, but it wasn't exactly what he was thinking, like that. So this is like these twisted tales of fate. This is what's going on in the Kali Yuga. Sometimes we get some sort of glimpse that something's not right. Things are actually. You get some sort of intelligence and some sort of awareness or glimpse into reality. Maybe some psychedelic drug or something. I mean, I think Prabhupada call it some Kali Yuga philosophers that are sitting around with their cheap bottles of wine, philosophizing, or they think they're the best attorneys. They got some pretty good legal advice. They got some pretty good advice about the way the world is and maybe the way the world should be. But everybody knows that this isn't the perfect world, right? So, but there's no positive engagement, right? It's like, okay, what to do, right? Maybe, meat eating and killing the animals maybe isn't a very good thing, but you know, what to do about it. You know, maybe you should just stop eating meat and become a vegetarian, and everybody's going to be. You have to have some support to back you up, because then everybody's going to be going, oh man, come on, quit tripping, man. You know, what I tell you about tripping? Now, come on, you know, you're going to keep tripping. Now I'm just going to pull the car over. You can just get out here. You know, don't be tripping now. So, you know, so that's the situation, and is that according to our association, will develop and be infected by those qualities. Right? So Prabhupada was referring like of wealthy persons. They associate with other wealthy persons and exchange their success stories, you know, or intelligent persons, but they don't speak with nonsense. Prabhupada was saying, you know, Prabhupada's saying they talk, but they don't talk with nonsense. You know, it's like, well, who are you? You know, you're working minimum wage, you're working really hard, you can hardly even balance your budget, you know, barely even getting by, or, you know, you're not dressed very nicely. These people are wearing very nice, expensive suits and really nice limousines and cars and have mansions. You know, they're not hanging out in the apartment, you know. So Baba was saying they talk of an important, wealthy person, successful person. He talks, but he doesn't talk with nonsense like that. So but the devotees associate with devotees, and was Krishna. He talks about that, how the devotees are. Such a person is dear to him who enlightens the devotees. They discuss Krishna's activities and his words spoken by Krishna and words about Krishna and his devotees. So this person's are very dear to Krishna, who are always enlightening one another by discussing these pastimes. So I think I've made all the points that I think I wanted to make. Read the verse. Yeah, this is a great verse. It's okay. He's a personality of Godhead, manifests himself in a transcendental form, being the subject of his transcendental name, quality, pastimes, entourage, and transcendental variegatedness. Although he is unaffected by all such activities, he appears to be so engaged. Right? So there's an internal aspect, a confidential aspect, right? Krishna doesn't really exactly come to the material world to destroy the demons, reestablish dharma, appease the devotees, but there's a more intimate reason. It's because it's his own pleasure. It's what he desires to do. Right? In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a discussion how Krishna, he's wandering along the banks of the Jamuna in the spiritual world, and he's kind of kicking a few things around, you know, back and forth. He's thinking, well, you know, I haven't given love of Godhead for a while. It's very rare. Lord Chaitanya comes in one day of Brahma, right? Yeah. You have another question? Right. Yeah, not only that, but he's one with his activities. So Krishna and his activities and his name, right? These are all one, being on a transcendental platform. It's not like the separated material energies are different for both things. Yeah. Yeah, both all the purposes are served. Yeah, everything that he does is all good. So he's kind of multitasking, right? You know how there was discussion. Shishupal had already been defeated by Krishna like 17 times already. So this is his 18th attempt. He's killed in the 19th attempt, right? So, and this is when Krishna built Dwarka. This other demon, his name was kind of like a sinful kind of a name because he was kind of sinful. His father was actually a great saint, or but I think it was like Gargamuni or something like that. And I'm trying to think of what the name was, but it's because he was so much fond of women and intoxication and sinful activities that this was actually his name. So it was his intent to attack Krishna's city. And so Jarasandhana, right, he thought this would be a great opportunity to attack from the rear, while this other demon here, he's attacking from the front. So that's when Krishna, he got Mayadanava and Vishwakarma, the architects of the heavenly planets. He brought them together and they constructed the Dwarka fort underneath the water, protected by the ocean, right? So that's when Dwarka was built. And so Krishna, after Dwarka was constructed, Krishna, he just walked without any weapons, walked through the armies, and the demon, I have to try to remember what his name was. I'll have to look it up and read it. But he was trying to get Krishna's attention and tried to engage him in battle or something. He's just watching this, but he saw, because he heard before from saintly persons and from his father, that Krishna is the most beautiful, and he has the Kastuba gem, right, and the shark-shaped earrings, and brightly colored yellow clothing, and with costly jewels and ornaments, with bangles and toe rings, and his finger rings and bracelets, and a crown adorned with jewels. So he was thinking, boy, this must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to the description that he had heard. But because he's a demon and more attracted to sinful activities, he wanted to engage in battle with Krishna, to defeat Krishna, try to think that he can kill Krishna. So Krishna just walked right through the battlefield and just kept walking. So he followed him, right? And Krishna went to a cave, and that demon there, he was thinking, oh, well, Krishna went in the cave. I'll just go in the cave and get him. So Krishna, he kind of hid to the side, but there was someone sleeping. And when he woke up, he had the benediction from the demigods that when he wakes up, he fought for many, many thousands of years on the sides of the demigods. And so the demigods asked him what he wanted. He said, well, let me just sleep. I'll catch up on my Z's, right? And then whoever wakes me up untimely will be burnt to ashes. So the demon was burnt to ashes when he woke him up. And so then they're talking to Krishna saying, well, who are you, sir? How did you get this ability to burn someone to ashes? And so he describes who he was, and he was in the heavenly planets. So that was another discussion they're talking about, is that, we, by engaging in devotional service and by thinking of Krishna and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra especially, it's like putting the iron rod into the fire, so then the rod will act like fire. Whatever you touch it to will burst into flames. So then we become Krishna eyes, but always associating with Krishna in all of his aspects, in devotional service, chanting Krishna, thinking about Krishna's activities, his name, his pastimes, his qualities, his Bhagavan. So that we become more and more refined and more purified, that that you can actually perceive spiritual things, that you can actually perceive the spiritual world. He was saying that this is even taking place now in the material world, but the material world isn't the real place to be, the real place to stay. But the demigods, they are more refined, more purified. They're on a more subtle plane, then one can. Prabhupada was saying that the devotees can actually perceive the demigods in the heavenly planets. It's just that right now our senses are covered over, but that's material. But to see Krishna in the spiritual world and be able to perceive the spiritual world, that's transcendental and eternal, like that. So by engaging this practice, and then I've mentioned it so many times, like, okay, come on now, I've been a devotee for 3 years, I've been a devotee for 6 months, been in the movement for 14 years, I've been in the movement since, who knows when, right? And 30-year devotees. Where's my love of Godhead now? I want my love of Godhead. But all you have to do is just kind of like open up to it. Just apply your loving capacity. I kind of use this as a model, but it's actually really real. In association thinking about Krishna, you can feel it. You can feel your emotional attachment. I guess we give it a label of love. Whatever the trip is with that. The impetus to continue to go on and on and on. Right, the taste for hearing and chanting. If you had love, so you can kind of give it a jump start. You push the car and engage the clutch and and right, and get the engine started, get the engine going. That's the way I went to San Francisco one time to see the Grateful Dead. We had to push the Volkswagen van, and when we got there, it went clink, 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 clink. And he goes, "Oh no, that's not what I think it is it? It's the drive shaft." He says, "Okay, well, we're here to stay. You can," he says, "you guys can camp out in my van if you want. We're here all weekend, but you're going to have to, get your own way home." Right? So, let's just hope that, well, actually, it's a boat. The spiritual masters, the pure devotees, they have this boat. But the boat is still on the shore. It took them to the spiritual world, to Krishna Loka, but the boat's still on the shore for anyone else who wants to take the boat, wants to take the journey and go to the spiritual world, right? So this is what do you call it when a round trip? This one is always there at the shore to go to the spiritual world, right? For anyone who ever wants to take it. Right, and the boat is still there on the shore. So there's also verses where the spiritual masters, the expert helmsman, the sails are like is the Vedas, and the favorable breezes are the Vedic hymns. And so one crosses over the ocean of material nescience, across the ocean of material miseries. Although a boat is actually the human form of life, the favorable vehicle for being able to understand transcendence, like that. So, you have a question? Yeah. Kali Yavana, that's it. Yeah, because Kali Yavana, a Yavana is referred. A Yavana is someone who's referred to who is a demon, right? A Yavana, Kali Yavana, Kala Yavana. So Kala actually means time, right? Yeah, but Yavana, Malecha, Mudha, Hitagyana, because he was actually fond of sinful activities, illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, like that. But his father was Brighu Muni, or it was a great Saint Garga Muni, the spiritual master of Nanda Maharaj. He was a really famous. I can look it up. He's a great saint. So, any other questions or comments, or maybe we can end class there? Okay, Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam class ki Jai.